Hey, my handsome ladies and gentlemen, this is Shmeaty. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. Let's go ahead and get all these Shmeaty remembered as YouTube login jokes out the way, and let's throw it back to exactly a year ago now. My favorite Pokemon to run at this time was Shadow Empoleon. People had a huge reliance on Bastiodon plus Wigglytuff, and Shadow Empoleon just said no to all of those teams. Unfortunately, it was punished for the sins of another Pokemon being Skarmory. Skarmory, very polarizing with its Steel Wing, Brave Bird, and Sky Attack moveset, but we're not going to be running Steel Wing today, we're actually going to be running Waterfall. Waterfall, I feel like with the Shadow bonus of the Empoleon, the damage is truly absurd. We've got this Dragonite very, very low, unfortunately going to farm us down just before we make a move. And now I'm going to bring in Regidrago, hoping my opponent, I don't know, went blind for a couple seconds and doesn't realize there's a Dragon type farming them down. They get farmed down anyway and bring in a Steelix. This game is looking a little cursed based off of alignment alone, but we're still going to attempt to fight back. Breaking Swipe lands onto my Regidrago, and then I bring in my Gligar. Gligar is going to be met with a Furret, and Furret, if it gets Trailblaze to land onto my Gligar, I'm going to be in a very bad spot. So I think my play here is always to shield up the Gligar, even though it's going to be the Trailblaze. I actually no-shield a Swift. If this trainer was able to boost up their Sucker Punch damage with a Trailblaze, I would be in a really bad spot. But now I can shield up this Swift, and Gligar is committing to the farm down of the Furret. We're just able to get it. They had just made the Swift. In comes Steelix, and now this is a very risky bait, firing off the Aerial Ace at the Steel type, and they shield it up. On 1 HP, Gligar holds on, and we're able to make a dig onto the Steelix. Not going to be enough to KO, but puts them in range where Regidrago can come back in and delete it with a Dragon Energy. GG's to this trainer. Getting into the next game, it's going to be Shadow Empoleon leading into a Unova Stunfisk. Honestly, even though I have Waterfall, this is probably a terrible lead. I am going to stay in because I have Waterfall, with this Pokemon being one of the Pokemon I had in mind largely. I am going to save switch into my Gligar, hoping to catch a move from the Stunfisk, as that is a truly terrible matchup for the Stunfisk, and wasting that energy while I have an Empoleon would be very nice. No such luck for me. They are going to counter switch with a Dusclops, and Dusclops, of course, having access to Ice Punch is quite threatening to the Gligar. I'm not even going to shield because Dusclops will be able to make so many Ice Punches before I'm able to make more than one move. So I'm just going to take the damage I can get off on the Dusclops. They are going to be able to connect with a Shadow Punch. That does like half my Empoleon's health. Dusclops not known for hitting very hard, but Empoleon also not known for taking energy particularly well. Now I'm going to shield up the discharge, and now we're going to bring in the Regidrago, hoping for no reason they throw a discharge there. It was a Mud Bomb, which did a sizable amount of damage onto the Regidrago, but Regidrago is going to look for a complete farm down of the Stunfisk, and we're just not going to be able to get it. Stunfisk hanging on literal 1 HP. This is going to make my life a lot more difficult. They actually got the damage registration error there too, so that Dragon Breath that landed KO'd, but they were able to throw a move effectively on 0 HP. You love to see it. They're going to bring in their Primate, and unfortunately, they brought in the Primate for a second. I looked at it through 2 Dragon Breaths instead of 1, and if I threw 1 Dragon Breath and the move at the Primate, I would have grabbed the shield and been able to snipe. But unfortunately, I misplayed this game very poorly, and the Primate made a catch back onto the Dusclops. They're going to be able to farm down my Regidrago. Well played to them. Alright, getting into the next game, Shadow Empoleon leads into the Toxapex? Tinkaton. Why did I call this Toxapex? Nevertheless, I am going to switch when they get a potential Bulldoze, thinking that they want to throw it immediately. Unfortunately for me, they're going to be able to get my shield with a Play Rough, and they bring in a Galarian Moltres. However, this isn't the matchup the Galarian Moltres is hoping to have here. Gligar can put in quite a lot of work up against the Moltres, and we are going to be able to at least force a shield or switch advantage. Either would be nice. I'm going to shield up the Fly because Gligar, like I said, can put up a very good fight up against the Galarian Moltres. Aerial Ace number 2 will KO if they don't commit a shield, so what is it they decide to do? They shield up one more Fury Cutter and another Aerial Ace. They're going to have to double shield if they want switch advantage. I'm very happy with that. They actually just waste the shield and let their Galar and Moltres go down. And I'm going to commit to the dig. Last second dig onto the Tinkaton, or I guess as I wanted to call it earlier, a Toxapex. That is a lot of damage. Oh my goodness. Bringing in the Empoleon, making sure we don't get one turn. It's an Annihilate in the back. This is actually not looking too bad. I'm going to bring in Regidrago immediately here to stop taking infinite damage from counters. And now they're going to be able to fire off a move here. It's very likely to be an Ice Punch, but Regidrago is going to be able to tank the Ice Punch and now land a Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe may not be enough damage to kill. It is a Shadow Annihilate. Oh, it actually KOs, and they're going to bring in the Tinkaton, making sure I don't get one turn. Bring in, oh no, they have a Bulldoze. Bulldoze may very well KO. I'm very glassy. We live it on very low HP, and the waterfall that stuck through will KO. GG's. Getting into the next match, and it's Shadow Empoleon leading into a Golisopod. Now, Empoleon resists all of the energy from the Golisopod, so you might think this is a good matchup. But Empoleon in 2025 has never had a good matchup, unfortunately. So we are going to shield up the Aqua Jet, as, to be completely honest with you, Aqua Jet would probably do most of my Empoleon's remaining HP here. The Shadow Claws, as you can see, are tearing through. I try to wait a turn to get a catch of a potential Aqua Jet onto the Regidrago. No such luck. They're going to hold on to their energy, fire off the X-Scissor, and now they're going to bring in Drapion. This is a non-Shadow Drapion as well. That is an interesting Pokemon, to say the least. I'm going to fire off the Breaking Swipe. Oh, it's a Shadow Drapion. I'm sorry, my glasses aren't on. I'm just going to blame it on that. They're going to be able to fire off a last-second move here, but I'm okay with that. If it's the crunch, I'm going to go down, but this realistically isn't the Pokemon I need. They're going to fire off a move onto the Empoleon, but I've been counting, and this is only going to be an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail, that's still way more damage for a debuffed, non-stab Aqua Tail. But it is what it is. They're going to bring in their Morpeko in the back, and hold on. Gligar has its work cut out for it, but it may very well be able to clutch up this game. They're going to fire off a Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fang's not going to grab my shield. I'm going to look to build up to the Aerial Ace here. They're going to outpace me with their Golisopod. I will need 2 Aerial Aces here. Aqua Jet number 1 grabs my shield, and if another one lands, I will get KO'd. I'm going to fire off an Aerial Ace onto the Golisopod. Aerial Ace versus Golisopod. They're going to let it go, and now back in comes Morpeko, but we have some plays to make here. Fury Cutter is tearing through the poor Morpeko. And now I'm bringing in the Empoleon. They have to throw energy to get rid of the Empoleon because I'm so close to a Hydra Cannon. That waterfall that snuck through did so much damage to Morpeko. Making sure I don't get the one turn bring in. And oh my goodness, if this is a Wheelio, we will get KO'd. It is a boosted move nonetheless. It's a Psychic Fangs, and that is very close to 1 Thunder Shock range, but it is not. Gligar hangs on. GG's to this trainer. Getting into the next game. Okay, it's Gligar up against our Shadow Empoleon, and a lot of the times they don't realize that you have Waterfall, so this is actually pretty good. They are going to save switch into an Acid Cradily. Hold on, this actually isn't too bad for me. Why did they bring in the Acid Cradily? Oh my, the Hydra Cannon damage, what was that? Oh my goodness, they're going to fire off a move. I called the Tomb here, and they didn't send the Tomb, but it's fine. We're going to be able to Waterfall down because they're on Acid. And now, in comes Dedenne. Dedenne going to be tasked with tanking a Hydra Cannon or putting up a shield here. Either way is good for me because I got a Regidrago in the back and a Gligar aligned onto the Dedenne. Dedenne is going to fire off a move here. Even if it's the play rough, Gligar is happy to no-shield it here. It's the Parabolic Charge. Of course it's the Parabolic Charge. I bank a dig for later. Bring in the Regidrago. And now, what is it that they're going to do here? If they send the dig, it would be slightly worse for me, but I'm going to call an Aerial Ace, and it's just an Aerial Ace, looking to connect with my Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe doesn't KO the Gligar, because Gligar is quite bulky, but this damage is pretty substantial. I'm going to no-shield here, and now I'm going to throw a couple Dragon Breaths and stop tapping, because I can get a farm down with my Gligar. My opponent realizes that's a top leftable game, so they're just going to be on their way out, but my intention there was to farm down my own Gligar. Even if they made a move, I had 2 shields, so I was in a good spot. However, I most certainly will not be in a good spot in the next game, as it is going to be Shadow Empoleon leading into a Primate. That's an instant switch for me, and now the opponent is going to counter switch my Gligar with their Scizor. I'm going to shield up their move. They decided to no shield my Aerial Ace, and they get the Night Slash boost, so I'm just getting absolutely torn apart by boosted bullet punches. Not a good feeling whatsoever. They're going to bring in Dedenne, maybe thinking that I don't react and just throw the Aerial Ace at the Primate that was on the lead. Dedenne takes all of its HP, and we are in such a tremendous spot. I'm bringing in Regidrago. Regidrago looking for the farm down, bringing in the Empoleon, getting the sneak, and now this is going to be a player up onto the Empoleon. It's not going to... that's actually a lot of damage. I can't say it's not going to do a lot. They're going to bring in the Primate, but at this point, we are so far ahead that Regidrago should still be able to clean up this game. I'm going to fire off a Breaking Swipe here. The intention here is hoping to slow down their charge move slash fast move pressure with a debuff. Unfortunately, that did not work out in my favor as I don't get the debuff. So I'm going to have to no-shield the Rage Fist anyway, and it's going to be close. Do we get the farm down? No, they farm down first. Well played to them. Alright, so somebody lie to me and tell me that Shadow Empoleon has a good lead now. It unfortunately still doesn't, as Blastoise, pretty terrible for Empoleon to see. Blastoise, although everything that it throws is going to be resisted, like literally everything in its moveset is resisted, Empoleon is still going to struggle here. Its pacing is significantly worse, and Hydro Cannon is a move that absolutely does not play around despite being resisted, so you'll see two of them is going to be enough to pick up the knockout. I'm bringing in Regidrago. Regidrago looking for the farm down, and they're able to make a move at the very last second, and it's an Ice Beam. Dude, why are you on Ice Beam? Why aren't you just on Skull Bash? They're going to bring in a Shadow Cradily, and now this game is looking pretty tough for me. I'm going to fire off the Dragon Energy. Is that a Shadow Cradily or a non-Shadow Cradily? No, he's got red eyes. That's a Shadow Cradily. Anyway, me discovering whether or not this is a Shadow Cradily out the way, I'm going to bring in the Gligar. It is going to be the Moltres, but now this is a very different matchup from earlier in the video. I am debuffed. So I'm going to have to make some magic happen here. Firing off the Aerial Ace does not get the Moltres to 50%. And now they're going to be able to retaliate with their Fly, or I guess in this case an Ancient Power. I'm going to fire off another Aerial Ace before they make their next move. And I have to play this very, very carefully. Aerial Ace not going to be enough to KO. I look to make the switch and catch onto the Regidrago. Unfortunately, I don't get the catch, and that might actually be worse for me. I'm looking to double up here, and it's a CMP tie. This is so unfortunate. I'm going to be able to fire off the Aerial Ace, but unfortunately, they're going to be able to hit me with a Rock Tomb or Grass Knot. Either is going to KO, of course. By one turn, I think we lose that game, because I think we would have won CMP, and that would have been very nice for us, but nevertheless, we're on to the next game. It's going to be a Talonflame leading into our Shadow Empoleon, and they're going to safe switch into their Annihilate. Talonflame stood in for a second, not anticipating the fact that we were going to be on Waterfall, and that does cost them a little bit of their health. I am going to counter switch their Annihilate safe switch with my Gligar. I'm looking to get an undercharge here. They do shield it up, and now they are going to not be able to outpace us here. The reason being is because Gligar's pacing is superior to Annihilate's. Nevertheless, they are likely to bring back in the Talonflame. Talonflame is going to look to make a move, but because of the little bit of residual we had on our Gligar, we are going to be able to outpace. And the Aerial Ace, although you may not think is the most impactful move ever, it's going to allow us to nearly waterfall the Talonflame down when the Empoleon comes back in. They're going to bring back in their Serperior, and of course they know that Empoleon has access to Drill Peck, so they are going to be forced to go down a shield. It wouldn't do too terribly much to a Serperior, but it's more than they would likely be comfortable with. They're going to fire off an Aerial Ace to pick up the KO onto the Empoleon. That's not the worst thing ever, because this trainer is ABA weak to the Regidrago, and we're looking to make a move on the Gligar, basically just forcing the Serperior to throw energy. But since this trainer's ABA weak to Regidrago, Regidrago's about to enter the group chat, and this trainer is about to leave the group chat. GG's. We've made it to the final game of the video, and it's going to be Empoleon leading into Dedenne. Not the best start for us. We're going to safe switch into the Gligar after throwing 3 waterfalls, hoping to catch a Parabolic Charge on 5. No such luck. They're going to fire off a Play Rough onto the Gligar. But wait, they respond to the Gligar with an Acid Cradily. That's not an answer whatsoever. I'm going to fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is going to get no shielded, and although I know that my Gligar does definitely have play in this game, I can't afford to go down to shields because it will just get KO'd by whatever next move they decide to throw. I'm going to fire off another Aerial Ace just before the Cradily is able to make another Rock Tomb. I am pretty low here, but I still feel like my Gligar has a lot of mileage I can get out of it. And in the back, it's going to be Annihilate. So definitely right about Gligar having some mileage left in it. We're going to fire off the Aerial Ace, looking to make another one. If they don't get the farm down in time, we're making another Aerial Ace, and this is a very awkward spot for them. I am just going to let them farm me down, and now here I just bring in Regidrago. I know that the remainder of my two Pokemon aren't particularly strong into Dedenne. They're going to fire off an Ice Punch. That does a massive amount of damage. I'm going to fire off a Breaking Swipe, and now I think I just pivot Empoleon every time here. I'm on 1 HP, looking to get the farm down. Dedenne looking to make a move, but Empoleon, with the residual we had stored from early on in the match, able to make the Hydro Cannon. Dedenne goes down as it's not defense boosted. Down goes the Annihilate. GG's to this trainer. If you made it to this point in the video, thanks so much for watching. Couple things to get out of the way. Okay, number one, some keen-eye viewers may have recognized that I did hit Expert. Yes, that video will be coming out tomorrow. I was able to hit Expert with the team that I had shown in the Match League. It was my last video featuring the Moist Man, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Kieran Black as the safe switch, and Crowned Sword Zacian as the closer. Now, I've heard some very disrespectful slander about Urshifu Rapid Strike, so all throughout the last week I was attempting to push for leaderboards. Unfortunately, I ended up falling just short, so wasn't going to be able to get that video out to you, but I was able to hit Expert, so we will still be able to show you guys that run. With that being said, that has nothing to do with this video. Let's talk about Shadow Empoleon. I really wish that Niantic would operate in a way where if a Pokemon becomes problematic because they gave a Pokemon a move that makes it way too strong, that they're able to just take away that move from that Pokemon. But unfortunately, I understand that that's not realistic and that's not how they operate, so Shadow Empoleon is doomed to obscurity now. It does have relative pacing to what it used to have with Steel Wing, with current Metal Claw. However, Metal Claw's damage output is abysmally bad, so I understand, you know, unfortunately, there may not be much saving our boy. You hate to see it. Nevertheless, all that being said, don't run Shadow Empoleon. I will have a team out in the near future for you guys to actually attempt to run in the Open Great League. Don't you worry. This is just for fun. I used to run Shadow Empoleon plus Shadow Gligar Core all the time, and I wanted to run it back. With all that being said, thanks once again so much for watching. I've been Shmeaty. I hope to see you all again next time, and have a good rest of your day. See ya.